text that Graziano sent me during the draft. So we're doing the draft. We're going along, and the Packers are about to pick. And someone made the comment about drafting for the next 5 years. And I said on the air, what I said specifically was, look, I understand that's the way they've traditionally done business. But with the Aaron Rodgers situation year to year, they can't possibly do that now, can they? And then boom, they take Quay Walker, and then boom, they take Devontae Wyatt. Two good defensive players who will definitely not win Aaron Rodgers a Super Bowl this year. And Graziano sends me a text in the moment that reads, and I quote, "If I have repeatedly told you anything over the past 2 years, it's that the Packers are always thinking 5 years down the road." The question is that the right thing to be doing when you have Aaron Rodgers as year to year as he clearly is?
I just think they're not going to deviate. I mean, for them, it's the right way to operate. That's how they, I mean, over the last 20 years, only 2 teams have won more games. Like, they feel like their approach is validated by their consistent success. And you're going to say, well, they have only won 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. And yes, I think from talking to people who run the Packers, if there was a way to make an offseason move that guaranteed you a Super Bowl title, they would surely do it. But they feel like, you know, if we win 13 games every year and we're in the 1 seed or the 2 seed, eventually one of these times it's going to break our way. The 49ers blocked a punt, or else they advanced in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, probably. And that is, so Dan, go ahead and expand on the thought you had, and then we'll get Mike T in on it here, because clearly you didn't like the approach that they took, which is not to say the guys they took aren't good players.
Here's my thing, Greeny. I wanted more urgency. Okay, like they became a better football team with those 2 first-round selections. But let's look at what everybody else in their conference did. Arizona traded their first-round pick for Hollywood Brown. The Eagles went up and got A.J. Brown, or traded for A.J. Brown. New Orleans went up and got Chris Olave. I was frustrated by it. I was upset by the lack of urgency. It doesn't impact my life at all. So I'm sitting here thinking what Aaron Rodgers might think like. Now, they take Christian Watson with the 34th overall pick. That's cool. For everybody that wants to continue to tell me, well, the Packers have a long history of developing second-round receivers, I have 2 things. Number one, because I played in that division, all of those second-round receivers were drafted by Green Bay teams that had number 1 receivers on the roster. Greg Jennings had Donald Driver. Jordy Nelson had Greg Jennings. Devontae Adams had both those dudes. Christian Watson doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. Candidly put, the Packers are going into a Super Bowl or bust season with Allen Lazard, a tight end coming off of ACL surgery, and an FCS wide receiver. And the last time an FCS wide receiver was drafted and went and had 1,000 yards as a rookie is 2006, I think, Marcus Colston to the New Orleans Saints. That's the difference between Green Bay and everybody else.
Yes, and regardless of who the rookie is, whether Christian Watson is a player that you think is going to wind up being great or not, and a lot of people do, the most passes that Aaron Rodgers has ever completed to any rookie receiver in his career is 38. So the question for my general manager over here, Mike Tannenbaum, is, are they done? Because both are right. I think Graziano is right. They're playing the long game. That's what they do in Green Bay. And Orlovsky is right, which is, if you've got Aaron Rodgers, especially in these circumstances, you better also be playing the short game. So do they have to do something else?
Yeah, and they should have been calling Odell Beckham Jr. from their draft room on Saturday, and they should have been eating cheese curds in Green Bay with him last night. and he should not leave without a contract. And I disagree with Dan from this standpoint. They're a better football team. Devontae Wyatt's a really good player. Quay Walker's a good player. They used some of the resources when they lost Devontae Adams to re-sign Devondre Campbell. This was a defense that was poor last year, and they're getting back Jari Alexander. So, Greeny, I've been in that situation. I had Parcells kick me out of a draft room one time and said, hey, don't come back in until you sign Otis Smith. Like, there's ways to improve your football team beyond the draft. So it is not over for them.
Wait, quickly. He literally threw you out. What did he say to you?
He's like, do not come back in here until Otis Smith is a Jet, because we were trying to sign a corner. We tried to draft one. That didn't work out. And we had a good team. And he's like, go get that guy signed.
Did you?
Yeah, I wanted to get back in the draft room.
Okay. All right. So, Orlovsky, you heard the argument here. They're a better team.
Mike T., first of all, the words out of my mouth were the Packers are a better team. They're just not in comparison to everyone else in their conference. 2 things. They were a top 10 defense last year. They did not have a need on defense. They lost the playoff game and gave up 13 points. So let's not say that they were a bad defense. I've heard you say 1,000 times this spring, you got to keep Devondre Campbell. You got to keep Rasul Douglas. They were integral parts of turning that defense around. The Packers are not going to not make ground up in the playoffs because they didn't have a 3 technique. The Packers are going to lose to teams like the New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Los Angeles Rams because their skill position players are not good enough.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one question. I want to ask you, this is me being serious. Would you not have reservation signing Odell Beckham coming off, like, to financially pry him away from LA is going to cost you money. He's got 3 months removed from an ACL tear. That means you're banking on your tight end coming back healthy from the ACL and Odell coming back healthy from the ACL. How much are you willing to kind of financially commit to that?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. I'm going to get the deal done, and here's why, guys. It's like a pennant race in baseball. I want to have my best team after Thanksgiving. So I'm going to sign Odell Beckham. We're going to sit shoulder to shoulder. We're going to come up with a meaningful plan. So we're playing our best football in late November, December in the playoff run. And I do think defensively, Dan, they were 23rd in the league on third down, struggle in the red zone. I think they could get off the field. That's meaningful in the playoffs. And be it OBJ or somebody else, you could find a single player.
So we'll come back to that. But quickly, Grazi, what other options are there? There's Odell. And to your point, Dan's point, he tore the ACL in February. Yes. I mean, the timing of that couldn't be worse.
Right.
So what other options are there?
Yeah, I mean, the free agents out there, Julio Jones is a free agent. Jarvis Landry's a free agent. Will Fuller is a player they've had interest in the past who's still a free agent. And who knows who's going to shake loose from other teams. I don't think they're going to be the team that ends up getting Deebo Samuel away from the 49ers because I don't think the 49ers want to do that with the team in conference.
Right.
But, you know, a couple of weeks ago, you wouldn't have thought A.J. Brown was going to be on a different team. Things can happen, and there are more time other than just this past weekend for player acquisition.
Let me pause on that. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.